just
So you would say that is better than if you had to compare it to Miley Cyrus's acting, and everything I mentioned.
right. In this instance, if I were given a choice, let's say to time travel to either event, and I know time travel is highly regulated, and but assuming that I had the appropriate connections or security clearance, I think I would.
Or just a way to get in, right?
Well, yeah, yeah. But for time travel, generally, you have to have a security clearance. Anyway, so I would probably say that home run would be my first choice.
Same question to you.
Well, being a sports fan, I would say uh, sports by far.
But you know what I'm talking about in the sense of what I said about the other comparison, which is Miley Cyrus's acting, right?
Yes, and no disrespect to her, but I'm a sports fan. So to me, sports drama is at the top of the list.
Is it also with you the same thing like my dad said, no disrespect to Miley Cyrus?
Oh, I have utmost respect for Miley Cyrus, and I'm actually an actor and singer, so I more identify with Miley Cyrus. But and you could think of sports as a kind of performing art, and so I think that just the magnitude of the event of the home run and the impact of it in its sphere is greater than Miley Cyrus's performance in that. But I do believe that Miley Cyrus is still developing, and she's already very good. But I have a feeling that given another probably 5 or 10 years, she will come into her full potential, and then we're going to see some earth-shaking performances out of her.
So that's a good question. And here is the other funniest question of them all. And we're going to make this the last question, everyone. We're going to talk about where Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, out of just the periods of their career from the first preseason game of the 1999-2000 NBA season till the last final playoff game where they won the 3 championships at the end of the third championship in a row, back to back to back, about how well their performances, both Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. Would each of you say that is better if you guys of course had the option to time travel back to all that, or would you say that is better, or would you say what is better is all the movies that Tom Hanks has acted in? It doesn't matter if it's animation where he just does voice. It doesn't matter if he's narrating something and it's just voice. It doesn't matter if it's him on a TV show. It doesn't matter if he's guest starring on a TV show. Any acting that he's ever done, what would you say is better and advise people on? If you had the opportunity to go around advising people which one's better, which one would you guys say?
That's a really difficult decision, very tough call. But if I had to make one, in this case, I would say Tom Hanks, simply because he's done such a diverse range of work that has probably overall touched more lives and had a bigger impact on the world. So in this case, I would have to go with Tom Hanks, with all due respect to obviously to Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal and to
The Los Angeles Lakers.
and the Los Angeles Lakers
NBA.
and the NBA and just sports in general. And in this case, I would say Tom Hanks. But if I were revising somebody, I would say that if the person was like Lester here, more of a purely sports-minded person, I would say go for the basketball. If the person was primarily a film-oriented person, I would say go for the films.
Well, what about if it was a sports person or a film person, but let's say they said, I want to try something that's different, that I'm not always focused on, then what would you say?
Well, then I would reverse it. I would tell the sports-minded person check out the films. I'd tell the film-minded person check out the sports.
What about if it happened to be a critic that does both sports events? Maybe they're a historian critic, a critic that does on sports history, and a critic who does on certain actors all performances. With them, what would you say?
Well, in that case, I would say go for Tom Hanks.
Okay, and same question to you.
Well, you already know I'm a Lakers fan, so I gotta go with the Lakers. Oh, I like Tom Hanks, all of his movies, but I'm still a bigger Laker fan than I am a Tom Hanks fan.
Okay, how would both of you feel if Tom Hanks or Miley Cyrus or any of the people we mentioned, Reggie Miller, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, of course my best friend ever, Herman D. Jones II, or even maybe Hakeem Olajuwon, who we didn't mention, and also my friend Stephen Ames. I don't want to forget him. Also Tony La Russa. And by the way, everyone, just so you know, Tony La Russa was the current manager during the time of the Dennis Eckersley pitch to Kirk Gibson when he hit the ball. How would you all feel if I had all those people that I mentioned, also my friend Jim DeLong, and my friend Bia? Cannot forget about my friend Bia, who went to high school with me. Is if I could have all those people that I mentioned, if they all saw this video, what would you guys say to them? I would like all those people to come on, all those people who see the video and people like them. I would encourage them, and I would say, I want you guys, by the way, to come on sometime. First of all, tell me if you guys would be okay with that and how you guys would feel about that. And if they didn't want to consider, if they needed advice to consider, what would you guys say? Also taking into account of my consideration of it.
Well, I think it would be awesome. I would like to see you have all of those people on there. I would like to see you have interesting interactions among them. Mix it up. A sports person, an actor, a former politician, good guys, bad guys. Mix it up, make it interesting, and I'm totally okay with it.
I think the best case would be to have Clint Eastwood show up, because you could talk to him even though he's not seated there. Just like he talked to, who was it? He talked to Barack Obama when he wasn't sitting in the chair in one of those political arenas.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think it'd be fun to talk to an invisible Clint Eastwood.
Now, one thing I did want to mention, we probably need to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes because I just got word that from my handler, there are Soviet missiles in the air. Our missiles are currently in the air in a return volley. Impact is estimated in approximately 15 minutes. So if everybody could try to get to the nearest atomic shelter you can. If you cannot get to an atomic shelter, stock up on iodine. We have approximately 15 minutes. Please, everybody, do not try to get out of town on the 405. With a little luck, I think we have a good chance of having at least a 10% survival rate, and God bless America.
Okay. And the last question I have for both of you is, if I had you guys back on the show again, and let's say I had at least one of those people out of the people I mentioned, what would each you would like to say to them? Say, for example, we had maybe Kobe Bryant come on the show. Oh my God! And what would you say to that exact person? Maybe he's sitting right there next to my desk. Anything you would want to say to them, and especially if it made increase the chance of us seeing them more often. Maybe after these people, if they ever retire, maybe it increases the possibility of us seeing them and hanging out with them, or with you guys at least. What would you want to say?
I would probably ask them, what is the source, in your opinion, of your success? What is it in you that allows you to reach that degree of excellence? And can you share that with the world?
Okay.
If I were in that shoe to talk to someone famous, important, I would have to come up with one question, something about that person that makes them unique. I would do some research and try to ask that one question.
And that's it?
It all depends on who the person is.
Okay, and then this is the imaginary question that goes along with it. Let's pretend it was Michael Jordan who came on the show. What would you want to say?
I would ask him what are the events in his life that really were the most powerful impact on him, being who he is today. What is his advice to the youth of today, and how they can tap into their excellence and exceed their expectations or what they imagine they can do? And I would probably ask him if he'd be up for a little one-on-one with my friend Dylan Sakurai.
Well, my only burning question for Michael Jordan is, you once quit basketball to pursue your dream to be a Major League Baseball player. And my question is, why didn't you keep at it until you got there? Just why you didn't pursue your passion for baseball. That's all I would want to know.
Okay, and everyone, we're going to
Just one thing before we go. Just for everyone to know, it's approximately 8 minutes until impact. So everyone, I advise you, say goodbye to your loved ones. Enjoy your last 8 minutes of life. It's a pleasure and an honor and really exciting, really, to be present for the end of civilization. It's something I've looked forward to all of my life. So here we go, folks. Hang on. It's going to be a great ride.
And I just have a quick question about that. Does that have something to do with the end of the Mayan calendar, the fact that we beat the record and lived past the expected time?
Well, this has absolutely nothing to do with the end of the Mayan calendar. That's just going to kick in again. But
and by the way, from someone I spoke to whose name's Hilma, who's a good friend and a sort of neighbor, she said it was the end of an era. The second question is, how do you agree with the end of era?
And I think that the current impending nuclear, smackdown of the upcoming nuclear holocaust is nothing to do with the Mayan calendar. It's just the inevitable result of the tensions that have been escalating in the world.
And what about the first question for both you, then my dad, then you, then him?
I think that it is I don't like to think of it as the end of an era. I like to think of it as the beginning of a brave new world.
Well, my reaction is 12 years ago we had Y2K. Supposed to be a disaster from that. Did that happen? No. Just like the Mayan end of the world didn't happen either, and won't.
And the other question that your response about what my dad mentioned, I gotta ask that.
Okay. Which one?
Y2K or something like that.
Well, I was involved in Y2K.
What did it how did you get involved?
Well, the company I was working for was hired to fix some Y2K software issues. But I knew already that there weren't going to be planes falling out of the sky or anything like that. It was more, that was hyped up. But there were a few little issues, but nothing quite so, earth-shattering as some of the people like to think.
And do you agree with what my dad said?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were really freaking out about it, but I knew it was going to be just no big deal, and it was no big deal. It was just one heck of a New Year's party.
And thank you so much, everyone. Now, this is our last part, and we want to say how much we want my best friend ever, Herman D. Jones II, because we all know that, I know, and, Barack Water, my friend, you know too, right?
Yes.
That my dad doesn't like to be here, but he was willing to come, right? That proves that my friend Herman D. Jones II, and this final question that's really required for me to hear from both of you is, he believes that because there was times when he was here before, when we did some here, and he felt that he saw and noticed that I got distracted because my mom and grandma were here, and that I wasn't acting like an independent adult. I made him a text message earlier today saying, give me a chance and all that, and being very honest, and you'll guys see it later. I believe that if he gives me this chance to come on this show, come here and do it, do you believe that I can prove to him and keep my promise that I can, and I said I would chant, by the way, you know what I mean by chanting. Based on what you guys, what you've seen today, do you believe that I could prove to Herman that I won't act the way he thinks I'm going to act, and especially the part that I will act and be an independent adult, young adult, of course, independent young adult, and not get distracted because of my mom and grandma? Do you believe that I could prove to him that I can overcome those things and act the way he wants to see me be?
I believe
based on today.
I believe you definitely have the capability, and I believe it's 100% up to you.
Do you advise Herman that he should take in consideration to give it a chance, or do you believe he should be like, no, I don't believe you, or something?
Well, I can't speak for Herman. I mean,
what would you say if he wanted to know from you, should I give him a chance or shouldn't I? That's what I'm trying to say.
Well, I'd say give him a chance. Incoming, get ready folks, here she comes.